In this video, we're going to focus on how we can add up tiny grid lines like this. The default is always from one side to the other side, but now we have these tiny ones here. So let's start to look how to do this. So let's start look how to add short grid lines on the Y scale in Chart.js. So the first thing what we're going to do is we go to chartjs3.com and then go to this specific link here with getting started. And once you're on the site here, and by the way, if you want to get the link quickly, you can find it in the description box. Once you're on the site, just copy this entire chunk of code here. Once you copy this, and if you want to understand what this code does, make sure you watch this video here. We're going to paste this in here, cut that out, and then we're going to paste that in here. No, that is not what I want to do, sorry. Paste that, save, refresh. Alright, so now we have this, and what I want to do is I want to change the grid lines or make the bar horizontally. So we're going to say here, in the options, we're going to say index axis equals the Y. So we say swap these. And if I do this, now we have that. So now we can start to create the grid lines here. But of course, to do that, I want to hide the default grid lines. So I'm going to say grid. Then we say here, display false. So we are hiding them. Once we do that, save, refresh. You can see here now we have no more grid lines, including the tick marks here that has been removed as well. So what I want to eventually just to focus here on this tiny grid here, or a tiny grid line like that. So what we're going to do for that is comma, plugins. We're going to create a custom version. Then we're going to say here the proper term would be short X grid or Y grid lines, for example, doesn't matter. Copy this, then I'm going to create a plugin. / I'm going to say here it is plugin block, and then I'm going to say constant short grid lines or short Y grid lines, and then we can say here ID, let's put in that, comma, and then I'm going to say here the timing. So when do we want to draw them? Well, we want to draw them before we draw these data sets here. We will draw the grid lines. So we say here before data sets draw, and then we're going to put in here 3 parameters, which are 3 objects. One is chart, other one is arcs, and the last one can be options or plugin options, doesn't matter. Plugin options, I'll use that one, it's quite descriptive. Then what I want to do here is an object destructuring, and if you want to understand object destructuring, I'm going to recommend you in the in the description box, there's a link, understanding object destructuring. So make sure you watch that if you don't understand what I'm going to do here. So this equals chart. Then what I need here is basically CTX. Another one that I need is the chart area, and specifically I will be using the left side now. And then comma, we're going to say the scales X and Y. So if you want to understand chart area as well, in the description box you can find a link with the video understanding chart area, which can be very useful as well. So now what I want to do is I want to draw the items. So I'm going to say here CTX dot, and then let's do save. So I'm going to save first all the variables above, and then I'm going to say here the following. I'm going to draw now the item. To do this, I'm going to say first of all CTX dot begin path, saying or basically communicating that I'm going to create a new object or new shape. But this shape should not be connected with any other shape that is in there. So it's a new unique shape. We're going to start with this, and then we're going to say here the line width. And let's say here line width can be 1 pixel. Not 1 pixel is default. I will just put in here 3 pixels so it's easy to spot. That's just for clarity's sake. And then of course not a colon but an equal sign. Very important. And then I'm going to say here CTS dot stroke style, and the stroke style is basically the border color. And why they call it stroke? Well, basically if you think about a canvas, you think about painting, and then you use a paintbrush and a line with your paintbrush, we call it a paintbrush stroke. So that's why they say canvas, think about a painting, then paintbrush. That's the logic behind here. So then here I'm going to grab a color and just get a nice red color here. I'm going to get this default color here. Later on we can set it to the official color that Chart.js uses. Make sure we have this good. This is a string value and it's semicolon. So then what I want to do is I want to start drawing the item. What I want to do is basically to start drawing here, having here these lines. But what I want to avoid is I don't want to have a line here and at the very end. So we need to do some work here. So to do this, what I want to do here first of all is a console log to show the y value. If I save this, refresh, open up developer tab, you can see here the y is basically what we call the scale. It's related to the scale here. So within the y, I'm going to scroll down here and I want to have this item here. Where you see the grid line items. Then click on this or underscore grid line items. Then you can see here the TX and the TX for number 1 and 2. But also you have the TY number 1 and TY number 2. And let me just refresh this just so we can see our chart here. Basically what we need is this. Let's go back here. And the chart is now nicely matched. We will need not the first one, because the first one will be probably this one or that one depending on the position. Let's click here. We can see here what is the value. Does it show anything? I can't say anything so far, but if I click on the next one, we can see it here. You can see here TY is 32, so most likely it starts here. This is 32 because there's some top here. This top space, this is 32 pixels from here to there, and then here we have this item. You can see is 63. So we need index number 1 here, and not the first one, index 0. Index 0 is this. That would mean index, the last one, whatever it would be. We have array of 8 items, so the last item or last index would be somewhere here, but we can check this, of course. So what I need is just this information, but not on index 0, but on index 1. That's the one we will take. We grab this one here, TY1. So what we're going to do here now is we're going to draw with a CTXL move tool. So we say, what is our starting point? Well, we have done our study now. We understand what is the starting point here. So what I want to do is for the first one is the X value and the Y value. And then here, this is the reason why we had the chart area left, because of this additional space here. So the left is this point here, starting somewhere here. And then of course, we have here the TY, which is on the vertical level, which would be somewhere here. So let's try to do this now. So first of all, we will say this. We're going to put in here, what's the right term here? This would be left, comma, and then we want to say here our starting point. And this will be y dot, and let's check here, how do we get here? To grid lines items. So let's copy this. I'll just copy this one here. Pay attention, capitalize L, capitalize I, and underscore here. And then here index number 1. There's a dot TY number 1, which was this one here. So if I save this, enter, alright. So then, of course, this is only move 2. We didn't draw anything yet. And what we really did was the following. We only put it here, most likely. So we want to have like a small indent here, or like a line that's short here. And to make this line easy, I will just match it with number 1 here. And of course, you could do it with anything. You could even do pixels amount. It's up to you. And it's very simple as well. So that will mean now here we'll say ctx.line tool. So that is now officially drawing the line, or not officially drawing, but we have here the starting point, and then we have to draw this part here. But this is just the preparation of drawing. So we will not draw immediately. First of all, we say here X and Y again. So we have the X and Y. But now I'll copy this, because this one will stay consistent because it doesn't move, but this one here needs to go more to the right side. And how much exactly? One of these items. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say here x.get pixel for value, and this is a JavaScript, sorry, not a JavaScript, but a Chartjs command. And we say here, basically going to say here, if on the X scale number 1, what is the pixel amount of that? So if I save this now, refresh, nothing happens yet. The reason why is we didn't say to draw the line. So now I'm going to do that one. We say ctx.stroke. That means to draw the line, save, refresh. Alright, interesting. We're getting some errors here. So 91, what am I missing here? Get value pixel. Alright, my bad. No parentheses here. Save, refresh. There we are. So now we have this line. You can see here nicely is working. Of course, now it's time to create a for loop because we have multiples and we want to draw them all. So how do we do that? We're going for, and we say let I equals 1. Why number 1? Because we started number 1. The 0 must be excluded. Then we're going to say here, we will loop through I as long as, and then what I want to do is, remember this had 8 items. So I'm going to say grab this as long as the I is smaller than this dot length, and probably have to do -1. Then we're going to check the I++. And then we have an increment I++. Then we're going to cut out this, put in there. And then what I want to do as well, nope, that's not what I wanted. There's proper indentation, and then just add a few items in here. CTX dot close path, and then CTX dot restore. So restore whatever we have, all these colors, undo them as well. So once we did this, we should see here a nice response here. Alright, doesn't work yet. Why? We forgot the I here. So this will be I. This one doesn't need to change, because if we change that, it will create longer items. We could do that just for the sake of it. It would be interesting to see. So I save that. There we are. We have this nice effect, but of course this is not what I wanted. Put it on number 1. That's a static one. So you can see here it works, except the last one here is being added as well. So what I'm going to do here is -1 for the length. There we are. And now we have that, and of course we could just put this back to this. Alright, and then we could even do it back to the official color, and I saw the official color was 0, 0, 0, and then here 0.1. Save, refresh. There you are. I hope you're able to see it. It's quite tough to see, but that is basically the color. Anyway, and that is basically how you can create these tiny grid lines on the y-axis. So if you enjoyed this video and maybe you want to have, instead of having them here, you want to have them on the x-axis, well, in that case, I'm going to recommend you to check out this one here, how to add short grid lines on the x scale in Chart.js. So that's exactly the opposite, but then having them on the x scale.